Wrestlemania 7. Hogan's got to do it for America, brother. So, I'm not exactly sure which city we're in. I think it's Los Angeles. I think I heard somebody say, I think Gorilla Monsoon might have said they were in the City of Angels, which is Los Angeles. The stadium felt big, but these inside arenas that are covered, you don't get any sunlight coming in. It just kind of skews the size of the arena. The entrance ramp is the shortest ramp they've had in WrestleMania, maybe short of WrestleMania 1. So it's just hard to gauge the size of the crowd. But we're going to get into it. Let's get into the first match. We got the Midnight Rockers versus Barbarian and Haku. And, of course, they're coming out with Bobby Heenan. Both guys feeling each other out to start the match. Both guys being Haku and Jannetty, I believe. Haku tries to slow down the match and slow down the Rockers like you have to do with the Rockers. The Rockers looked great, getting several double-teamed moves in. Shawn Michaels drop-kicked Barbarian, who was trying to power slam Marty Jannetty onto his back. But to no avail, Barbarian couldn't pull it off because of the drop-kick, and Jannetty got some head punches in. Really cool sequence of moves. Barbarian gave a sweet top rope clothesline, as I'm calling the move, off the shoulders of Haku. There was a sloppy clothesline sail from Jannetty. He kind of crumbled. I don't know if he lost his footing or whatever, but it just didn't look good when Barbarian clotheslined Jannetty for some reason. Barbarian seemed to fall off the turnbuckle, missing a headbutt. He got on the turnbuckle and tried to showboat, but then I saw his knees kind of give, and he just kind of went with a half-effort headbutt on Jannetty, I guess, to try and save the whiff. The final spot was real cool. The Rockers double-kicked Barbarian out of the ring, double clotheslined Haku, and that set up a drop kick off the turnbuckle from Jannetty onto Haku, and then Haku kind of stumbled into a crossbody off the turnbuckle from Michaels for the 1-2-3 pin. Entertaining match. Definitely one of the better matches of this WrestleMania for sure. Match 2, we got Dino Bravo with Jimmy Hart versus the Texas Tornado, or one of my favorite territory wrestlers of all time, Kerry Von Erich. Bravo got on the attack before Von Erich could even get his coat off. There's a poor clothesline spot from both wrestlers. The wrestling wasn't fantastic in this match. I didn't like the finish because Bravo dominated most of the match, and Von Erich didn't really have any offense at all, and he just kind of popped the spinning tornado, his finish out of nowhere, and it just didn't feel like he earned the pin. But the match was bad. It was just not a good match, not fun to watch, so I'm not mad it ended short. Kerry Von Erich kind of put me out of my misery. I'm not going to lie. Match 3, Warlord with Slick versus the British Bulldog. Man, I've already talked about this match and spoiled this match, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about it again. Both men going for high-impact moves to test each other's strengths, slams and Irish whips and clotheslines, those kinds of moves that create high impact to test each other's strength. This is just a strongman versus strongman kind of match. There's a great spot with Davey Boy going for a crucifix, but Warlord was smart enough to just drop Davey Boy for it's just kind of a sort of a back slam. I don't know what you really call that other than a reverse, he reversed out of the crucifix. Another cool spot of Davey Boy trying to pile drive Warlord. He got reversed into a backdrop, but Davey Boy had enough wherewithal to hang on to Warlord in the backdrop for an attempt to roll him up into a pin. Warlord did not fall on his back to be rolled up. He stood there and simply just dropped it down on Davey Boy's head. The spot was not over. Then Davey Boy pulled his ankles around Warlord's shoulder for a double underhook pin. I only know that name that move name thanks to Gorilla Monsoon. The final spot was sloppy. Bulldog reversed a Warlord slam attempt. Warlord tried to slam him, and Bulldog reversed it, but he just kind of slid off of him. It's just kind of sloppy. But he still hoisted him up for a beautiful finisher. Bulldog hoisting Warlord up for a beautiful finisher. Incredible match. The best strongman match I've ever seen, which isn't saying too terribly much, but just a beautiful, beautiful match. The only strongman match I could compare to this would be Billy Jack Haynes and Hercules at WrestleMania 3. Moving on to Nash, really? I got Nasty Boys on the mind because in match 4 we got the Nasty Boys versus the Hart Foundation. The Nasty Boys made Bret Hart look awesome. They had some god tier selling in this match. There was jawing between Anvil and the blonde Nasty Boy. I don't know their names, so you guys will have to bear with me about the Nasty Boy names. Great jawing, great just working the crowd into a fever pitch. The willingness to sell from the Nasty Boys and the Hart Foundation sold well. It just got the crowd really loud. It made the match look really well. It's a fantastic brawl-style match. It's a great job of executing and selling, again, on both teams. There was a chin lock spot in this fight. Surprised to see it because I did not expect to see a single submission hold. I know Bret Hart's in this match, but just the way it was going, the way the momentum was going, I didn't expect to see a submission hold at all. And we got a chin lock spot in the fight. There was nice continuity with the Nasty Boys continuing to put chin locks on Bret. They would just tag midway through a chin lock and just continue to keep it held, keep it held, keep it held. It was a really good spot. There's a nice spot of Anvil throwing one of the Nasty Boys off his shoulder onto the other one. I liked that. It made Anvil look strong and mean and powerful. And then the finish was great with the Hart Foundation putting away one of the Nasty Boys for the win, but he didn't receive a pin count. So it allowed the Nasty Boys to be nasty behind the ref's back, grabbing Jimmy Hart's megaphone, hitting Anvil over the head, and getting that win, stealing the tag team titles from the Hart Foundation. Next up in match 5, we got Jake the Snake Roberts versus Rick Martel. It's a short but intense promo from Jake. I liked the promo. The promo was the best thing about this match. Talking about the blind leading the blind, but a snake has 6 senses and they will wrestle in the dark. This was a gimmick blindfold match and it was very silly to watch. You know, watching both guys try to find each other inside a sack. There was one funny spot. Martel crawled over to Damien, and when he realized it was Damien, he kind of, you know, like everybody does, backed away in panic. And before the match got too long, Jake the Snake hit that DDT and ended the match, and we got out of there before we got too overly bored with that gimmick match. Match 6, we got Jimmy the Snuka, not Jimmy the Snuka, Jimmy Snuka. I can use words, guys. I'm going to get through this. Fighting The Undertaker. This first WrestleMania match I've seen The Undertaker in. It's my understanding The Undertaker has debuted in WrestleMania. However, the commentary was already talking about Undertaker like he'd already debuted. So maybe I'm getting my history of Undertaker mixed up. And, you Undertaker fans out there listening to this, put it in the comments when Undertaker debuted in the WWF. Because I just don't feel like I'm getting my history right with Undertaker. Undertaker was very intimidating to start the match, just piercing into the soul of Jimmy Snuka. It was just a methodical beatdown of Jimmy Snuka to start the fight. There was a bizarre, I can't really describe this move. You just have to Google it. Jimmy Snuka Undertaker at WrestleMania 7. Just kind of a bizarre aerial throat punch from Undertaker. I don't really know. It just kind of didn't understand. I don't know if Snuka botched the spot or if Undertaker changed his mind midair. I don't know. Just kind of a bizarre, as I've written it, aerial throat punch from Undertaker. Didn't need to be executed in the air, in my opinion. Minimal offense from Snuka, and but it was made to make Undertaker look awesome for sure. I understand why the match happened the way it did, but there were no interesting spots for real. No jaw-dropping moves. Just wasn't a very interesting match to watch, in my opinion. Match 7 is a match that is beloved in a lot of people's hearts and minds. A match that I am totally, utterly biased against. This era in Macho Man, or should I say Macho King's history, is very, very tough for me to watch. Just because I understand what's going on behind the scenes in Macho Man and Elizabeth's life. Obviously, it's Macho King with Sensational Sherry versus Ultimate Warrior, the famous retirement match that a lot of people love. I noticed right off the bat, Ultimate Warrior wasn't running to the ring, and he looked very irritated with fans. Kids were trying to swipe at him, and he was legit he told one kid, "Get off me!" And that's not what you want. It makes me wonder what happened backstage, what's going on with Ultimate Warrior, and thanks to Fanboy Prime for getting my timeline straight. In about 5 months, Ultimate Warrior is going to hold, I believe it's SummerSlam, hostage for a raise. And that kind of expedites his exit out of the WWF. But here, I just wonder what's taking place here behind the scenes with Warrior prior to this match. He just looks like he doesn't want to be there. Warrior looked awful in the match. He's got very robotic move execution. It just feels like he's forced to be there. He's just forced to do what he's told. Low energy for his standard. Not a lot of running around. Not a lot of his typical energy we're used to seeing with Ultimate Warrior in this match. I noticed the words, "It matters much more than this," title belt. There's a picture of the title belt on Warrior Speedo is a shot at Vince. I'm not sure why that's on his Speedo. Is that a message to Vince? Who knows? We got stunts like Sherry distracting the ref and the ref being knocked out that are prolonging the match. I wanted the match to end, and Sherry prolonged it. The ref being knocked out prolonged it. Macho Man delivered 6 elbow drops, and you wish that would have ended it. I wish it would have put me out of my misery. We got an aerial shoulder spear from Warrior. That felt repetitive because he did it several times. Warrior ended the match eventually and retired Macho Man. He didn't stay in the ring long. He kind of got out of there. And then most of the drama took place because Miss Elizabeth came out of the crowd. As Sherry was berating Macho Man, Elizabeth came out of the crowd and came to Macho Man's rescue. It's still a sweet moment, I gotta admit, when Macho Man and Elizabeth rekindle their love and express their eternal love for each other in the ring. It's a very sweet moment. However, I know what's going backstage, and their marriage is falling apart at this point. And it would just be a year from this moment where Elizabeth and Macho Man are divorced. So it's just a very, very tough match for me to watch. It brings up a lot of out of the ring issues that's going on between the two. And I'm just biased against the match. It hurts my heart to remember this era of Macho Man and his history. I know a lot of people love that match. And I understand sometimes what makes a match great is the storyline and everything that doesn't have to do with the wrestling. But if you're watching that match for great wrestling like I was, it's just not that good. Next up in match 8, we got Earthquake versus Greg the Hammer Valentine. Earthquake, like usual, is dominating the match early, and he tried to go for a squash match finish, power slamming Greg, going for the pin. Didn't get it. Greg kicked out. Greg carried this match. I was impressed with Greg. Greg's well past his prime. Greg is definitely, not at the forefront of the business anymore. He's not the most popular guy in the locker room anymore with the fans. But Greg is one of the great workers of wrestling history, in my opinion. Greg goes out there and puts on a solid show. He can turn a bad match into a solid match. And I thought he did a great job of both wrestling Earthquake and making him look powerful. So he made the match a little interesting. But at the same time, he didn't go for too much offense. He still let Earthquake look fantastic. Greg tried to work the crowd. He tried to bring the crowd into, to get them loud. And it seemed like only a fraction of the crowd was engaged. And they missed out on a little bit of offense from Greg for not being so engaged. Their loss. But we understand Earthquake is supposed to look all powerful. And even still, he's supposed to look powerful. I still don't like Jimmy Hart helping Earthquake mount his final offense, his match-ending offense chain of moves. And it ruined, it kind of ended the match that Greg was trying to energize. He was trying to infuse some energy, some fan interest into it. And Earthquake just kind of putting him to bed so quick just kind of ruined what little Greg was doing for the match. Again, I know Earthquake's supposed to be just this intimidating, all-powerful, unstoppable figure, but I don't know. I don't know what went on with that finish. It feels like the wrestlers were ready to get out of there because the crowd wasn't interested, and sometimes that's the thing. In match 9, we got Legion of Doom versus Power and Glory with Slick. This is a squash match, straight up. Power and Glory wasting no time getting started. Squash match with there was a sweet final spot, I gotta say. All right, let me get my bearings here. Animal clotheslined Paul Roma off the turnbuckle and off the shoulders of Hawk. Shocked to see that Vince did not want to bury wrestlers that already made their name from a different company. Vince is famous for burying wrestlers that he didn't get to make, the gimmicks he didn't come up with. When he buys those wrestlers, he brings them into the WWF and he buries them. He's still doing it to this day. Looking at you, Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. He just cannot stand it that wrestlers are over that he didn't have anything to do with. Although he had something to do with Cody Rhodes. But he made Cody Rhodes a freaking joke, and it was New Japan, NWA, and AEW that made Cody Rhodes, not Vince. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Vince. Anyways, back to WrestleMania 7, back to 1991. So, match 10, Ted DiBiase versus Virgil with Roddy Piper. And I gotta say, when you hear Virgil versus Ted DiBiase on the card, you're thinking, this is a WrestleMania match? This is a feud in WrestleMania? But, however, like I said in the Macho Man Ultimate Warrior match, sometimes what makes a match great is the storyline. And because I've been watching these WrestleManias in order, I've kind of seen, albeit in an annual 1 episode per year snapshot, I've kind of seen the history of Virgil and Ted DiBiase these last couple of months. And so it had some heat for me. And I liked the backstory. I liked the feud that I wrote. Took years to create. And when the match started, I noticed Virgil moves like he's got real boxing experience. I was impressed with his footwork. I was impressed with how he looked punching DiBiase. DiBiase told a story in the match. He constantly rolled out of the ring and needed a minute to think it over. He was constantly jawing with Roddy Piper. And DiBiase was fantastic in this match. Virgil was a little wild with his move execution. He tried an actual wrestling takedown, maybe like one of 5 moves he was probably coached on prior to this match, or maybe prior to the feud, but he pulled it off. He pulled the takedown off, and not a lot of wrestlers can say they can do a takedown like that. DiBiase had a nice power slam, catching Virgil off the ropes. That was probably the best spot of the match. I liked seeing DiBiase push Piper off his chair. That really got a lot of heat in the match. It really started putting heat on DiBiase and making me wonder if he was going to lose to Virgil or not. I really appreciated the kind of drama there. But, after that spot, DiBiase got counted out. And by number 7, DiBiase was back on the apron, and he still got counted out. So I don't like that the ref was not aware of the rules. It didn't feel like the respect for the rules was there. I just didn't like that. But for the storyline purposes, for the purpose of the feud, I like DiBiase getting counted out. It puts Virgil over as a babyface, gives him that win, but it also sends DiBiase into a rage, and he attacks Piper and Virgil in the ring. Sherry comes out, and this sets up the sensational Sherry DiBiase partnership that she claims is one of her better shining moments of her career. It makes total sense that DiBiase and Sherry would work together. Solid match. It shouldn't have been good. It was billed as something generic, but Virgil and DiBiase pulled it off. Roddy Piper made it fun. Sensational Sherry made it fun, and I loved it. Next up, we probably have the worst, maybe not the worst, but one of the worst matches right before the main event. Why would you put the Mountie and Tito Santana right before the WWF title match? I have no idea. Short, forgettable match. Dirty win for the Mountie. Might I add, the Mountie's theme music sounds like crying scenes music from Rocky III. There are scenes when Rocky's depressed and he's scared. He's having his come to Jesus moment with Adrian when they're down there in California training with Apollo. That he's scared. He's having to admit for the first time he's scared to fight Clubber Lang, and they play this slow French horn music, and it's corny. It works good for the movie, but for here in the Mountie, that his theme song kind of sounds like that. Very, very corny. Match 12, we got the main event. The match everybody paid money to see. And I got to say, the irony of Hulk Hogan calling himself New Technology in his promo when this is his 6th WrestleMania, winning or defending the WWF title. We're only at WrestleMania 7, and Hogan's either won the title or defended it at 6 WrestleManias. And he's sitting here calling himself New Technology. Slaughter's promo was kind of annoying and long. I don't like Slaughter's character voice. General Adnan, I understand what's going on here. It's 1991. We got Kuwait being invaded, and Vince McMahon's trying to infuse some real-world events into wrestling. And I know people have thoughts one way or another about putting real life into the fantasy world. A lot of us come to the fantasy world. We come to our entertainment like wrestling and comic books and video games to escape reality. I myself being one of them. But, regardless of your opinion on, them exploiting the Iran invasion or the Kuwait invasion, Desert Storm and all that, that's what they went with. That's the cards we are dealt. Slaughter came off as a goofy cartoon to start the match. He had no heat behind him. I did not, he's champion because Macho Man helped him out. He didn't beat Ultimate Warrior. He didn't go toe-to-toe with Ultimate Warrior fair and square and beat the man. Ultimate Warrior was in a side feud with Macho Man And Macho Man came out, interfered in his match with Slaughter, and caused Ultimate Warrior to drop the title to Slaughter. So Slaughter doesn't really have a lot of heat behind being champion. He's clearly a transitional champion. It just doesn't feel like a high-profile main event so much as it seems like Hogan has to win the title from that rascally Sergeant Slaughter from America. You know, when I think of WrestleMania 1, we've got Piper and Orndorff versus Hogan and Mr. T. It's built to be this gigantic, larger-than-life main event. WrestleMania 2, can Hogan overcome Bundy? WrestleMania 3, the two biggest personalities in wrestling of all time in the same wrestling ring. Regardless of how you feel about the technical wrestling, regardless of how you feel about Andre or Hogan, it's the biggest match of all time in terms of hype and what it means for the business. WrestleMania 5, probably the most conditioned, one of the most athletic wrestlers of the 80s, Macho Man and Hogan, go at it. And even in WrestleMania 6, possibly the greatest gimmick of all time, Ultimate Warrior, one of the hottest, fastest rising wrestlers of all time, Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan. Just these iconic, legendary main event matches, and you just don't know if Hogan is going to overcome the odds to defeat the champion or defend the title. And here it just doesn't. It seems like a main event match that could have happened at Royal Rumble. It just didn't have the heat, the energy behind it that the past, 4 or 5 Hogan WrestleMania main event matches have had. And no offense to Sergeant Slaughter. I know he's got a lot of history in the territories. He's a big name in the AWA. I'm sure he traveled all over the place. Slaughter definitely was a big name in the 80s, but it's 1991. Kind of feels like Slaughter's a little past his prime here, in my opinion. Let's see here. Slaughter, there was a spot where Slaughter tried to stop Hogan's hand and missed by several feet. I don't know what happened there. Hogan kind of acts like he's unaware of the stomp. Slaughter just kind of kept it moving. So I don't know if that was a missed opportunity, a sloppy spot by Slaughter. Who knows? Who knows what happened? I kept hearing new Hulk Hogan references, new technology. This is the new Hogan. And I guess dominating a WrestleMania main event match for 10 minutes is what fans are going to expect from Hulk Hogan from now on. And just going to give you a boring, one-sided match. Not going to give you any drama. And the match didn't get good until Hogan got busted open by a chair. For 10 plus minutes, I was just thinking, this is awful. This WrestleMania is a bust. There's no creative spots here. It's kind of slow. Both guys are kind of acting like they're past their prime. There's not a lot of energy here. The crowd is giving us more energy than the wrestlers are. And then it just turned when Slaughter hit Hogan with the chair and busted him open. And it was a pretty solid blade job by Hogan. Not going to lie there. Just pouring blood out of his head. Then the match got good, in my opinion. That created the drama. There was a Boston Crab spot where Hogan slapped in the mat in the middle of receiving a Boston Crab. Obviously, he didn't tap out. The crowd understood he didn't tap out. But it just looks bad. It's not great optics. Hogan probably shouldn't have been slapping the mat there. It was just Hogan showing that he doesn't want to grab the ropes. He just wants to take the Boston Crab like a man and get out of it. somehow. But, just didn't think Hogan was very aware of how that looked when he did that. There was a camel clutch spot. This was probably the best spot of the match. It made the match, just gave it a lot of drama, a lot of heat. I started really getting invested in the match during the camel clutch spot. It harkened back to when Hogan first won the title from the Iron Sheik. And there's so many callbacks to Hogan's first title win when he defeated Iron Sheik in '84. He's fighting wrestlers that are representing Iran. There's the camel clutch spot where Hogan hulks out of the camel clutch, the second camel clutch at that, because Slaughter got out of his camel clutch, hit Hogan with a knee shot to the back, and then wrenched in a camel clutch even deeper, adding more drama to the spot. Is Hogan going to tap out? And then he hulked up, which I thought was a great Hulk moment. It was one of the greatest Hulk up moments he's ever had, in my opinion. And he won the match. Great timed Hulk up spot, legendary finish. I think it's Hogan's greatest finish, in my opinion. Well, no, Hogan's greatest finish will always be slamming Andre. But for me, for somebody that is critiquing these matches, I think his best performance is the Sergeant Slaughter Hulk up finish. I don't know how I feel about WrestleMania 7. I know Fanboy Prime told me it was one of his favorite WrestleManias. Definitely, I think he even told me it was his favorite of the first 10 WrestleManias. I don't think I can say that. I think I still like WrestleMania 6 more. Ironically, though, I like the finish to WrestleMania 7 much more than I like the finish to WrestleMania 6. WrestleMania 6 left me feeling cheated and shortchanged, and WrestleMania 7 made me feel like Hogan and Slaughter got it right, got the finish right. The final 5 or so minutes of that match were fantastic. And just a match that went way, way, way too long. The 10 minutes Hogan was dominating Slaughter, and then the offense Slaughter was giving Hogan right up until the chair shot was just is boring. There was nothing innovative or creative or exciting about that match until the chair shot. So let's get into the awards. My favorite promo, I'm going to have to give it to Bobby Heenan. I laughed out loud. I forget which promo it was, but Bobby Heenan was talking about go get on your couch with the springs hanging out and turn on your crappy TV, slap it a few times and get the antenna right or something. I don't know. He's like making fun of fans, telling them to tune into the match. I'm going to have to give Bobby Heenan the best promo for sure. The best spot, I have to give the... Man, there's just a few spots here that I love. I loved the Nasty Boys Heart Foundation vinyl spot. I liked the Road Warriors spot. I liked the Camel Clutch spot. From a technical move, no, not from a technical move. From an entertainment perspective, I think the Road Warriors had the coolest spot of WrestleMania 7, but I'm gonna have to give the final spot of WrestleMania 7, the Camel Clutch, Sergeant Slaughter creating all that drama. Hogan's got the crimson mask on, and we don't know if he's gonna tap out of the Camel Clutch, and then he hulks up out of the second Camel Clutch, fantastic spot. So I'm going to have to give the final spot of WrestleMania 7 best spot of the pay-per-view. I think the best wrestler of WrestleMania 7. I'm going to have to give it to Davey Boy Smith. Davey Boy Smith wrestled his ass off with Warlord. And Warlord was fantastic as well. I'm going to have to give Davey Boy Smith best wrestler of WrestleMania 7. My favorite wrestler of WrestleMania 7, I'd love to give it to Jake the Snake, but that was just such a goofy, hard-to-watch match. I can't give Jake the Snake my favorite wrestler. Let's see. My favorite wrestler of WrestleMania 7. Let's go with the Road Warriors. That spot was really cool. It was a squash match, and I think that just kind of shows my opinion of WrestleMania 7, that my favorite wrestlers to watch were the Road Warriors in a squash match in WrestleMania 7. Not the best wrestlers, mind you. Best wrestler is definitely Davey Boy. But yeah, that squash match was fun. And then best match, I'm going to go, I could go either way, a coin toss. Either Davey Boy Warlord or Nasty Boys Heart Foundation. I'm going to go with Nasty Boys Heart Foundation because 4 men pulled off a fantastic, entertaining match that had zero to do with wrestling. And I was engaged and loved it the entire time. Nasty Boys and Heart, all 4 men, and I think to pull that off, to have 4 guys pull off a match that was that entertaining, that was just a fight. It was just a freaking bar fight, as I call them. Have to give the Heart Foundation versus Nasty Boys the best match in WrestleMania 7. So that'll do it. Shortest episode to date. Love that. I feel like I said everything I was going to say in this. There were some missed opportunities, Probably should have trimmed Hogan down a little bit. Probably should have extended certain matches. Definitely shouldn't have done that freaking blindfold match with Rick Martel and Jake the Snake. That was rough to watch. Not entertaining for me to watch at all. Can't waiting for it to end. Just another WrestleMania 7. When I think of WrestleMania 7, I'm just going to consider it another WrestleMania 7. Nasty Boys Heart Foundation and Warlord Davey Boy Smith are the highlights of WrestleMania 7 and what I take away from WrestleMania 7. But the main event, Hogan Slaughter, is starting to feel like the end of Hogan. It's starting to feel like Hogan should probably hang it up in the main event scene. It's starting to feel like they're running out of gas with Hogan. It's getting kind of tiresome now with Hogan. And I can't believe he's the main event in WrestleMania 8. But we're going to see WrestleMania 8 in 2 weeks. And until next time, guys. Oh, before I sign out, thank you. Thank you for watching, subscribing, commenting on all that stuff. It means a lot. And I make this series for the people that care about wrestling in the community. And it's just kind of my love project, if you will. And I just want to thank you guys for supporting me doing this series. And until next time, guys.